In a sleepy suburb, where neatly trimmed lawns frame rows of identical homes, nothing ever seemed out of place. Neighbors waved politely, children rode bicycles without a care, and the hum of everyday life masked an undercurrent of quiet normalcy. But on a seemingly ordinary evening, the veil of tranquility was ripped apart by an act so monstrous it sent shockwaves through the community. An 18-year-old boy, just on the brink of adulthood, committed a crime that defied comprehension, a crime against the very people who gave him life, love, and trust. Inside those walls, secrets brewed, secrets that no one could have imagined. What unfolded within the span of a few fateful hours left detectives puzzled, a neighborhood in mourning, and a family wiped out by the hand of one of their own. The question lingers: what could drive someone so young to destroy the people closest to him? What darkness resides within the mind of a person capable of such devastation? Today, we unravel a chilling story of a family torn apart in the most unimaginable way, a crime so devastating that it left an entire community in shock. The suspect, 18-year-old Liam Reynolds, a high school senior with his whole future ahead of him. The victims, his parents, Michael Reynolds of 45 years old and Emily Patel of 40 years old, and his two younger siblings, Ethan Reynolds of 12 years old and Olivia Reynolds of 15 years old, whose lives were cut tragically short within the walls of their own home. It was supposed to be a quiet evening in Oakwood Estate, a small, close-knit suburb. But by the next morning, their home had turned into a crime scene that would haunt investigators, neighbors, and even seasoned forensic experts. What could have driven someone so young, so full of promise, to destroy the people who raised him and shared his life? As we piece together the events of that fateful night, the evidence paints a picture of tension, unresolved anger, and a chilling descent into violence. The Reynolds family seemed, at first glance, to have it all. They lived in a comfortable two-story home in Oakwood Estate, a place where neighbors greeted each other by name, and weekends were filled with barbecues and children playing in the yards. The father, Michael Reynolds, worked as a police detective, known for his hardworking demeanor and quiet sense of humor. Emily Reynolds, a teacher, was admired in the community for her kindness and involvement in local charities. Together, they raised their children, Olivia Reynolds of 15 years old and Ethan Reynolds of 12 years old, who were described as bright, polite, and full of potential. But beneath this idyllic surface lay tensions that no one outside the home could have guessed. Friends of Liam Reynolds recall a quiet, introverted teenager who often seemed lost in thought. While he excelled in some areas, such as art, video games, science, he struggled socially. Teachers noted his withdrawn nature, and classmates described him as a loner who rarely opened up. As the months leading up to the tragedy unfolded, Liam Reynolds began exhibiting increasingly troubling behavior. He spent long hours isolated in his room, often avoiding family dinners and activities. Small disagreements with his parents reportedly escalated into heated arguments. Yet, to the outside world, the family remained a picture of normalcy, an illusion that would shatter on a night no one could have predicted. The day began like any other in the family name household. The sun rose over Oakwood Estate, casting a warm glow over the streets. Inside their home, the family prepared for their usual routines. Michael Reynolds headed off to work, Emily Reynolds spent her morning tending to household tasks, and the younger siblings went to school, carrying their backpacks and dreams for the future. Liam Reynolds, the eldest, stayed home that day. He claimed he wasn't feeling well, though in hindsight, it seems he was hiding far more than a headache. The hours passed uneventfully, or so it seemed. By the time the family reunited that evening, no one could have predicted the darkness that had crept into their home. They gathered for dinner, a ritual of togetherness, with plates filled and small talk shared. But tension lingered in the air, unspoken yet palpable. Friends later reported that Liam Reynolds had been withdrawn all day, and his interactions with his family had grown increasingly strained. As the clock struck 9:17 p.m., the peace of the evening shattered. What unfolded next remains a chilling sequence of events that would forever haunt the investigators tasked with piecing it all together. According to the police report, the first sign of trouble came when neighbors heard a loud crash from inside the home. Then, silence. Hours later, a call to 911 would summon authorities to a scene so horrifying that even seasoned officers struggled to maintain their composure. When detectives arrived, the house was eerily quiet. Inside, the carnage told a story of rage and heartbreak. Each room carried traces of what had transpired, evidence of the unimaginable. Blood-splattered walls, overturned furniture, and broken glass suggested a desperate struggle. The lifeless bodies of Michael, Emily, Ethan and Olivia Reynolds were found in the living room, each bearing the marks of violence inflicted by someone they trusted. When investigators arrived at the Michael Reynolds home that night, they were greeted by a silence so profound, it felt deafening. The once vibrant household, filled with laughter and life, now stood frozen in time. The first responders carefully entered the house, their flashlights illuminating a scene of devastation. Each step through the home revealed evidence of a desperate struggle, signs that the victims had fought back against their assailant. Bloodstains marked the walls and floors, a horrifying testament to the violence that had unfolded just hours earlier. Detectives quickly began piecing together the sequence of events. In the living room, an overturned chair and a shattered coffee table suggested that the first attack had occurred here. Moving into the kitchen, they found a trail of blood leading toward the back hallway, where the bodies of Michael Reynolds and Emily Reynolds were discovered. Nearby, a knife, believed to be the murder weapon, lay abandoned on the floor. The siblings' bodies were later found in their bedrooms, where the signs of struggle were less pronounced, indicating they may have been attacked in their sleep. But it was the suspect's bedroom that provided the most chilling clues. Strewn across his desk were scribbled notes filled with angry rants and dark imagery. On his computer, detectives uncovered searches for terms like family murders and how to stage a crime scene. The digital trail painted a picture of premeditation, of a young man grappling with anger and isolation that had festered over time. One text message sent just hours before the crime stood out: "Tonight, everything changes. No one will control me again." It was a glimpse into the mind of someone spiraling toward an unthinkable act. As investigators delved deeper into the life of Liam Reynolds, the question that haunted everyone was, why? What could have driven an 18-year-old to commit such a horrific act against the very people who loved and cared for him? To answer this, detectives turned to the suspect's past, his relationships, and the psychological factors that may have led to this tragedy. Reports of frequent arguments between Liam Reynolds and his parents began to surface. Neighbors recalled hearing raised voices on multiple occasions, suggesting ongoing tension within the family. Friends described Liam Reynolds as withdrawn, occasionally snapping at even minor provocations. It appeared that a pattern of unresolved anger had taken root, building slowly over time. Psychologists examining the case suggested that Liam Reynolds may have been battling undiagnosed mental health issues. A history of isolation, combined with a strained family dynamic, likely compounded his feelings of helplessness. One expert noted, for individuals in this mindset, the world often appears as a series of overwhelming problems with no solutions, leading to a tragic breaking point. But it wasn't just family conflict and mental health challenges that caught investigators' attention. A closer examination of the suspect's online activities revealed a disturbing digital trail. He had been frequenting forums centered around dark, violent themes. Searches like "how to suppress emotions," "family betrayal," and "perfect crimes" painted a chilling picture of a young man grappling with dangerous ideas. Detectives also uncovered evidence that he had been in contact with an online community that seemed to glorify rebellion and violence. Yet, the most shocking revelation came when investigators discovered a journal hidden beneath his mattress. Within its pages were entries detailing his growing resentment toward his family, blaming them for perceived slights and restrictions. One entry read, "They don't understand me. They never will. One day, I'll make them see what they've done." It was a haunting glimpse into the mind of someone who felt pushed to the edge. Further complicating the case was the revelation of a possible financial motive. Detectives learned that Liam Reynolds had recently asked his parents for a large sum of money to fund a personal project, request they had refused. This denial, paired with the emotional and psychological turmoil already brewing, may have acted as a final trigger. In the end, the motive appeared to be a complex web of unresolved conflict, psychological instability, and external influences. It was a perfect storm that culminated in an act of unimaginable violence. Only hours after the crime, the search for Liam Reynolds began in earnest. Authorities, piecing together evidence from the scene and the suspect's known behavior, believed he hadn't fled far. It was a cloudy, moonless night, and officers combed through the quiet streets of neighborhood name, flashlights cutting through the darkness. They found him near a local park, wandering aimlessly. His clothes, still stained with what appeared to be blood, clung to his body like a haunting reminder of the crime he had committed. Disoriented and silent, he offered no resistance when approached by police. When asked if he understood the severity of what had occurred, he responded with chilling clarity, "I know exactly what I did." The moment of arrest was calm yet heavy with unspoken tension. Officers led him to the squad car, handcuffing him as neighbors peeked through curtains, watching the scene unfold in disbelief. The same boy they'd seen riding his bike down these streets was now the center of an unimaginable nightmare. Months later, the case of Liam Reynolds reached the courtroom. It was one of the most anticipated trials in the community's history, drawing reporters and true crime enthusiasts from across the state. The prosecution wasted no time painting a grim portrait of the events leading up to the crime. Using forensic evidence, digital records, and witness testimonies, they built a narrative of a young man consumed by anger, resentment, and a dangerous descent into darkness. One of the most impactful moments came when investigators took the stand to recount what they found in the house. The lead detective described the scene in measured, professional tones, yet his voice wavered as he recalled discovering the victims. Jurors listened intently, some visibly moved by the weight of the testimony. The defense, however, argued a different narrative. They claimed that suspect's name was a victim of severe mental illness, one who had slipped through the cracks of a system that failed to provide him with the help he needed. They called upon a psychologist to testify, explaining how years of unresolved trauma and isolation had created a perfect storm, culminating in the tragedy. Through it all, Liam Reynolds remained stoic. He sat at the defense table, his gaze fixed downward. His lack of visible emotion became a topic of debate among those in the courtroom. Was it guilt? Remorse? Or something else entirely? Only once, during the victim impact statements, did he seem to falter. When Robert Jeekins, a cousin of the victims, took the stand, the courtroom fell silent. Their voice broke as they described the aftermath of the crime. "We lost an entire branch of our family tree in one night. Their laughter, their love, it's all gone. I don't understand how someone could do this, especially to the people who gave him everything." Liam Reynolds and the Michael Reynolds family were left with more questions than answers. Could this crime have been prevented? Were there signs that were overlooked, cries for help that went unanswered? What do you think could have changed the course of events and saved the lives of an entire family? We want to hear your thoughts, share them in the comments below, and let's keep this important conversation alive. If this story captivated you, consider joining our community of true crime enthusiasts. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. We dive into the most gripping and haunting cases from around the world, uncovering the hidden truths behind the headlines.